Welcome back, everybody, to Rasputin Gaming Presents. This is our ongoing Platinum Trophy Guide and game walkthrough for Cyberpunk 2077. And today I'm doing something a little special for you. We're doing impressions of the game, Cyberpunk 2077, after Act 1. So if you've been following my video guides, both the regular playthrough and the very hard playthrough, you know that I have cleared everything in Watson that there is to be cleared. NCPD assaults, cyber psychos, and gigs for Regina Jones. And we've gotten to, level 20, street cred about 33. And so we're doing really well in the game. So let's start with my impressions of the beginning of the life choices that are available to you. So on the life choices, they all have an interesting concept to start, but I should note that I found the nomad life path the most interesting in the beginning. The little car chase, the shootout, that was pretty fun and pretty engaging. I think much more so than either the street kid life path or the corpo life path. So if you're looking for a life path that has some engagement in the beginning, definitely Nomad is the choice for you. If you're trophy driven, and which is the point of my guides, Corpo is the most useful in the beginning. You can actually get the trophy, Stanislavski's method, in Act 1 because there is enough Corpo choices in Act 1 to trigger the 10 dialogue choices that you need to earn the trophy. Not so much with Street Kid and not so much with Nomad. All right, so with the introductory part out of the way, let's talk about how the game works. So the prologue mission, the rescue, was engaging, and it allowed you, through guidance from Jackie, to explore many of the abilities in the game, from the cool ability tree, doing your stealth takedowns or kills, hiding bodies for some ninjutsu points, and then doing some distract enemies in the room so that you can sneak up behind them. You can actually get through the whole mission, as you see that I did, in a stealthy fashion without ever really having to fight. There's plenty of other fighting, but if you want to go in guns blazing, you certainly can. They give you the opportunity to reduce the odds some. The thing I didn't like through the prologue section, and let's include the tutorial, combat, and quick hack section, is that the quick hacks aren't explained real well to you and how to use them along with the breach protocol items. So that I think is a little bit unfortunate. That's a very interesting game mechanic, and it's something fairly new anyways to video games. So I thought that CD Projekt Red should have spent more time highlighting that and finding ways to get players to engage with that play style so that you could figure out if that's what you want to do. So that was a little bit disappointing to me. And then through the rest of the prologue mission, you have the little street shootout scene, and then you eventually get back to your apartment and you learn about stash and things like that. It doesn't tell you, unfortunately, that sleeping and taking a shower give you buffs. Sleeping gives you an XP buff, which lasts for quite a while in game time. So it would have been, I think, a little bit beneficial to point that out. I knew about it and I did not bother to spend very much time going back to sleep other than when the story needed me to do so. I kind of forgave the XP buff. And, and probably a good thing as well, because if I had used it, I can't imagine what kind of level I really would have been at before Act 1 was over. Maybe halfway through the levels, maybe level 25 or so. Street cred of 40. And for both those, the cap is 50. So it is possible to get pretty close to max level, max street cred right in the beginning of the game, depending on how you take it. The main story quest is interesting. It gives you some opportunities to again engage in different forms of combat, the quick hacks, sniping, using shotguns or pistols, even blades, if that's your thing as well, or brawling if that's what you want to do as well. So the game does a good job of introducing those concepts to you. I just don't think it does a very good job of the more of explaining or giving you the opportunity to use the more esoteric options available to you, which is unfortunate because the way the game is set up, you cannot respec your attribute points. You can only respec your perk points. So once you commit to a build style, you're kind of locked into that build style. You can be a jack of all trades in the beginning and probably spend, 2, 3 points getting to level 5 or 6 in everything, and then just specialize in 1 or 2 abilities and getting them to the max level of 20. But if you're doing a platinum trophy run, then you're bound by a couple of things. You have to get body to 16 because there's a trophy associated with getting 2 hearts, which you have to have a body of 16 to get the second heart. Crafting has to either get to 20 in intelligence or 18 in technical ability, so you could craft 3 legendary items. And then, there's a trophy associated with maxing out one of the attribute trees as well. It's unfortunate that by the time you kind of really figure out what you probably want to do, you might not have the build that you expect that you would have. Now, that being said, the beginning of the game is not that long. Act 1 is not that long. And you could reasonably start multiple builds, trying out maybe 3 different builds, trying out the 3 different life paths and 3 different build styles. That's quite reasonable. So I think there's a lot of replayability, at least through Act 1 of the game, that might be beneficial, especially if you just play through the main stories and get through the heist. Once you get through the heist in the section with Johnny Silverhand and meeting Takamura, at that point you kind of have to be decided on your build and your style that you want to do. For me, I decided that the way to really attack the game was to do everything in one zone. And since you're really locked into Watson in the beginning, I made the decision to clear Watson of all the NCPD assaults, all the gigs, and all the cyber psychos, because there's a trophy associated with doing those things. So there's a trophy associated with getting all the tarot, so I've done that. I've gotten all the tarot in Watson. There is a trophy associated with collecting all the cars, so I bought all the cars in Watson. There's a trophy for clearing all the NCPD assaults and gigs, so I've cleared all of those in Watson as well, so that I don't have to spend a lot of time later on running all around the map trying to focus on mopping up trophies. It's not really the way I play games. By the time I get to the platinum, I like to have everything done. I generally like to have the platinum be the last trophy that pops, unless the game makes that not be the case. And I should note there is not a trophy associated with any difficulty level in the game. So you could play it however you would like. If you play it on easy, you're going to smoke through the game pretty quickly, especially if you attack the Watson area and completely do as much of it as you can. You're going to be quite a high level. You're going to be very overpowered going into the rest of the game. And then the last piece I want to comment on for impressions of the game is how it plays on the PS5 versus the PS4. So I'm playing on both consoles, and the PS5 plays really well. The new high-end processor manages all the loading screens real well, and it doesn't matter how fast you're running through the screen or if you're driving from area to area. It manages to load up all the new interactive spots and drop the older ones really quickly, so you're never in a lag situation. So that is really good. Unfortunately on the PS4, even through update 1.61. So unfortunately on the PS4, despite the 1.61 update, there is still quite a bit of trouble loading the environmental interactive sections of the game. You can sprint through the city or drive a vehicle through the city, and The background paintings will keep up with you. That's not a problem. It's just loading all the interactive stuff and the close-in stuff that becomes a problem. I highlight this in a couple areas, especially on the quest called Playing for Time, where we got to meet Takamura. We run into Tom's diner and we have to spend, I don't know, 15, 30 seconds waiting for all the patrons to load in, all the NPCs, Takamura, the interactive prompts as well to load in. It's all there. I didn't experience any crashes with the game other than once. The first time I tried to activate what I knew was there, so a conversation with Ripperdoc, even when the entire environment around the Ripperdoc was not loaded, I went ahead and hit the dialogue engagement button where we can buy cyberware, and the game crashed at that point. So I think as long as you don't try to push the interactive modes, whether when they're not loaded or and all the environments around them aren't loaded, you shouldn't have any trouble. It's just a matter of waiting. Where it can get you into trouble is if you're on a gig, let's say, for example, and you go to that area and not all the combatants have loaded up, not all the cameras have loaded up, and you're standing in the middle of the area waiting for that. And then when it all loads up, it's already aware that you're there and violating hostile space, and you're going to get attacked right away. You'll be fully spotted. So if you're trying to do a stealth build or a sniper build, you'll want to stop some distance away from your assault site or your gig site and let it get loaded up and move carefully into that area so that you don't trigger combat prematurely and get yourself into a bind. Now, you won't really be in a bind, as I mentioned, if you're on the easiest difficulty, because you can just whip out a shotgun or a blade weapon and go to town on people. Even on the hardest difficulty, very hard difficulty, not all the enemies have an AI driven aggressive mode. Like a lot of them will hide behind cover, which is great because you'll have 3 or 4 that you have to deal with. And if you're successful in dealing with them that are you're the immediate threat, the other guys will be staying around the perimeter at range, shooting at you, or being a net runner that's, hacking you. And then you can wind up dealing with them one-on-one, which becomes fairly easy. It's not that difficult, especially if you make your build towards doing that. So if you specialize in blades or shotguns, and if you find the fireproof coating, then you really don't have anything to fear from net runners, and you can go in and be quite aggressive, even on very hard difficulty. It's just managing, staying on top of your health, and making sure the net runners don't get their dots on you. Beyond that, in Act 1, I found the story to be engaging. I also found that the trophies are a good mix of items and things to do. A fair amount of collectibles, some story-driven ones, some combat-related ones. There's a good variety of trophies in the game. So if you're trophy hunting or achievement hunting, you should be fairly pleased with your progress through Act 1, especially if you're going on full clear mode to gain quite a bit of progress towards trophies and actually popping quite a few. I think I have 11 or 12 trophies down in Act 1. So with all that information being put out there, I hope you guys found this to be useful. I expect to do another impressions another impressions video after Act 2. Sorry about that. My gosh, my mind's on trophies right now. But we'll do one after Act 2 as well and see how it compares to Act 1, if it expands on the things it should be expanding, if it picks up on the areas that the game has been slacking on. We'll see, continue to compare PS4 and PS5 and see how the latest update 1.61 has fared for the game and improving your ability to enjoy it. So if you're enjoying my content, please subscribe. Don't forget to friend and follow us on Twitch. If you're on YouTube, like the video, subscribe to the channel. Much, much appreciated. We will catch you guys next time. Take care out there and be safe.